Okay, it's Tuesday, September 27th, and this is midday, and I'm actually going to do a SPY update here, which also is probably also going to double as a SPY recap for the day, even though there's 3 hours of trading left. So many things have happened today in terms of kind of having scenarios in the pre-market that kind of unfolded just as you might have looked for to have this down move. On the down move now, so far, this is what the day looks like. It's a red day at the moment. I don't know exactly how it's going to end up, but we've hit some major monthly targets. So now that's a question of what happens next in the bigger picture and, how to kind of monitor for what's going to happen next. Those are the type of things, I'd go over either at the end of today or even right now, because at this point, it's tough to say what the end, we have still 3 hours to go. I mean, of course, we have a down bias on the day, even though we hit major targets. The question is, are we going to have some kind of one more push, maybe a little pause here and then a push down to take out the intraday lows and continue much lower, end up with a big red day? Or is this day going to fail a little bit? I mean, I can come at the end of the day if something, major reversal happens and we close up. Either way, whether we close red or close up, we're still going to have to look at the midpoint of this day tomorrow and to see what at least develops for tomorrow into Wednesday, and then what that means maybe for the weekly chart and the monthly chart. But at this point, it doesn't matter if I kind of make this video now or at the end of the day, the way I see it. In terms of the day, let's just go over some of the key points today, and then I'll just highlight some of the things we're going to be looking at in the days and weeks ahead. First of all, in terms of today, we had a if you go to the pre-open video, I discussed a whole bunch of scenarios where, I was expecting definitely a little bit of an up movement here. And I even traded Apple. I'll show you that trade in a second, on the upside to start the day. But I, talked about how if it's going to fail, there are going to be several scenarios. And this was exactly the type of scenario I spelled out, ahead of time, where we came down. The first bar didn't follow through the upside. We came all the way down here, took out those pre-market lows, and then we just paused a little bit. And then that would, to me, if we were going to have this type of action, you can go, look at the pre-open video I put out that said that then if we pause here and can't really rally up past the halfway point of whatever move happens to the downside, I'd be comfortable trying a short. I actually bought puts here at the yellow line. We took out those intraday lows. Once you took out the intraday lows, that was the halfway point of yesterday. That took us down to the yesterday's low on an outside bar, and then that also aligned with the weekly chart, having its red bar last week, getting a little follow through lower, and of course the monthly chart, which I have had a long time, this target down here that was also hit on this move. So all things, this whole big failure up here, which I was thinking about ahead of time might happen, even though I was biased that it could be an up day and maybe tomorrow we'd get this kind of move. Anyway, it developed just as one of the scenarios that I was thinking about developed exactly kind of the way, you could think about it ahead of time. And that's why this big push down, it was high probability to do a lot of things, not only take out the intraday low, it took out the daily, a daily failure bar, and then it reached a monthly target. So now that we're down there, there's all kinds of things, unfolding in terms of going forward. And we don't know, what's going to happen next. Since we had a monthly target, are you going to fail here immediately? You have all kinds of, price action to the upside. Well, if that happens, you're going to first have to get above the midpoint of any daily bar. This weekly bar, we're going to look at this. We're going to have to get above the open of this week. As long as this, we have today, Monday, Tuesday, as long as we stay red here and stay below the open, then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we'll continue lower. And we have these, I'll show you in a second why these are key targets at the moment. But if we can get that weekly chart turning green, maybe we are failing down here at this, bar. So we're going to look for that. Then wherever this weekly chart ends, let's say we have 3 more days to go and we get some kind of a red bar, but it may be closed. We're going to see, going to kind of watch the midpoint of that weekly bar going into the next week to see if we either head up or head down again to these targets. So let me get to these targets real quickly. In terms of the monthly chart, now that we've hit that, this is the big picture. Look, we do have if we go back, now that we've hit the monthly targets, our next target is this big green bar here to the downside. So if things really, stay weak through October, keep that in mind. We could be heading down there, but along the way, I had to go to the weekly chart and kind of zoom it out and figure out what are some of those weekly targets, as we head to the monthly targets, and they're down here. These 3 lines here are the next weekly targets on the downside. So again, we're going to, in order to see whether we get there or not, we're going to have to see if our weekly charts, now that we have 2 days into the week, if this stays red, like I said, and then as each weekly bar forms, we're going to have to see if we stay above or below the midpoint of that bar as we head down there. And these could be targets that get taken out And before we hit this yellow line, this might be an area to get a nice pause where we get a little bit of a weekly, like up here reversal as we're heading down. So keep that in mind, but we'll know that in the days and weeks ahead. So again, just to recap today, I had an up bias. There was no doubt about it. And, at the start, I even showed you, actually, I kind of posted here all my Apple trades. I bought Apple. I scaled out at a certain point, and if I actually click on the Apple chart, I'll show you here. I bought it pre-market at this line. I have a video I put out. I scaled out. I actually sold some up here at my first target, and then I sold as I was seeing the failure on the SPY chart that I was talking about here. That alerted me to get out of Apple, and I took a small gain on the final part of the position. I actually took 2 nice gains. So even though I had an up bias on Apple, it never really gave me a buy signal above the first bar anyway, and I was able to take gains on that, and I used the SPY as kind of a reference point to just kind of get out of the market. And at that point, I shot a mid-morning video saying what I was anticipating here, what to look for. And then given what developed, I went short here and bought some puts. So anyway, that's going to be it. I think I'll use this as a recap video. And maybe, by tomorrow morning, depending how this bar closes, I'll kind of go over what's developed, at the end of today and, what's it looking like for tomorrow. And I'll reemphasize some of these points because now a lot of things have developed, a lot of things to, a lot of scenarios to keep in mind, but we're just going to have to go day by day as always. But, there are some key levels here in the big picture chart. There's some reversal kind of ways to look at things. If we get, if we turn this green again, that would be a way to consider a reversal happening. So those are the things we're going to look at. But today was a very interesting day. And in terms of the way a lot of things played out early on and how that led to a lot of big picture scenarios unfolding. And now we just have to, kind of set a whole new set of expectations. And we know key levels and again, I'll go over this more, I guess, probably tomorrow morning, once I see how today closes and where things line up, going into Wednesday.